Okay, so The Incredibles has finally come out in the United Kingdom, and although I do really like it, I've noticed that there are a lot of similarities and differences with this film compared to the original, so I figured I would talk about them today. This is a new thing that I'm starting off on my channel, where I delve into films and film series more in depth. Welcome to Behind the Lens. When The Incredibles first came out in 2004, my 7-year-old self loved every single second of it, and immediately after that film's release, there was already talk of a sequel. There was even the possibility of it being made within the next few years, and so obviously we were very, very excited. So we waited. And waited. And waited. And waited! And so 14 years later, Pixar finally thought that was a good idea to release the trailer for The Incredibles 2. And oh boy, were people excited.
You have powers! Yeah, baby!
I am really glad that we finally got The Incredibles 2 because, I mean, it's not as if we've been waiting more than half of our lives for it. I mean, yeah, I definitely wanted 3 Cars movies over a second Incredibles movie because, yeah, everyone loves the Cars movies, right? I mean, they were snubbed at the Oscars, weren't they? Yeah, I definitely wanted those, right? There are many reasons as to why I like the changes in The Incredibles 2 compared to The Incredibles 1, so I thought I would talk about them today, starting with Part 1. Adapting to a New World. The Incredibles focuses on this traditional 1960s white suburban American family called the Parrs, a group of people trying to get their lives back together years after their people, the superheroes, were forced to go into hiding. In the midst of all this, the father of the family, Robert, aka Mr. Incredible, is recruited by this company who want him to don on his superhero costume again in order to do their dirty work. However, over the course of the film, we later find out that this is all a ruse, and Mr. Incredible and his family are being hunted down by someone from Robert's past, hellbent on revenge. The Incredibles 2 does have some similarities in that department as well. This story is also about adapting to a new world, except under different circumstances. Superheroes are back in the limelight and the Parrs have to balance their hero lives with their personal lives, whilst at the same time trying to fend off a new villain who is dedicated to making sure that supers are kept illegal. The main plot of the story focuses on the family being recruited by media mogul Winston Dever to fight crime so he can make superheroes popular again. However, there is one person that is proving to be the toughest of them all in their search for justice. The ominous being known only as the Screenslaver. Change is seen in all of the characters. When Helen is given the opportunity to put herself forward and fight crime and put more positive media focus on those with superhuman abilities, she is clearly overjoyed, especially given how good she is at her job. She succeeds in bringing public opinion polls up in their favour, causing her husband to become jealous of her newfound popularity. Robert is forced to look after the kids and keep an eye on Jack's ever-changing abilities. In the first film, we see him and Frozone secretly fighting crime at nighttime whilst listening to police scanners, and Helen is a stay-at-home mum. This time around though, the roles are completely reversed and we see his desperation in wanting to go out there and do what he loved before he was forced to go into hiding all of those years ago. Mr. Incredible is a guy stuck in the past, yearning for the days of old where he can go out there and kick butt. This is a good indicator into the kind of character that we're going to see. A dad who is struggling to adapt after years of being the family breadwinner. We see a lot more character development with Violet and Dash as well. With Violet, we see a teenage girl who's just trying to live a normal life outside of the incidents that made her who she is today. We learn that these two aren't just people with superhuman abilities such as super speed and the ability to become invisible and create force fields, but they're also human beings who just want to live a normal life. And isn't that just what we all want? They're just teenagers that many of us could relate to when we were younger, and they just want to get their lives back together again and just be, well, teenagers. Jack is one of the best parts of this new movie without a doubt. His constant ability changes make for some very entertaining scenes, especially when his father is left alone to keep an eye on him. Since he has many different abilities, he is thereby labelled a polymorph. Thankfully, his main physical form is just an adorable baby and not this. Come on, you know that the moment I mentioned Jack was a polymorph, I had to make a red dwarf joke. Part 2. New Supers. Aside from seeing The Incredibles return, which I was very pleased about, it was really good to see some new additions being brought into the series. These, of course, are the new superhumans that have come out of hiding thanks to the ever-increasing popularity of Elastigirl. My personal favourite of these was a character called Void, a teenage girl with the ability to make portals appear out of thin air. We get to see a huge batch of new superpowers being displayed in the film, not just from Void. We get to see abilities such as telekinesis, crushing, electronic abilities, and even vomiting lava. The Incredibles series has become very reminiscent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You get to learn more about the stories as it progresses, plus with each progressing story we get to see new heroes and villains. Speaking of villains, by the way, the Screenslaver is a villain with the ability to hijack television broadcasts and use them to control other people's minds and make them do their evil bidding. While the main villain in the first movie was a character wanting revenge for supposed abandonment by Robert, the motive of the villain this time around is control. They want to make superheroes illegal altogether so they can do as they please, warping people's minds and getting away with it. Whilst the main villain was focused on a small island in the middle of nowhere in the first film, this time round it's focused on the big city, leaving millions of more people affected, which is a really good way to do the story because now you have even less of a chance of knowing who you can trust. The Screenslaver is a very good villain who uses visual manipulation to trick and entrance their villains into doing their dirty work. However, I still think that Syndrome is a far better adversary, and here's why. Syndrome was the best part of the third act for The Incredibles for me. The claustrophobia that he caused by entrapping the family on an island with nowhere to run or hide, and choosing not to throw them in prison, but instead flat out murder them and attempt to kidnap Jack at the end was mortifying. Syndrome was a disturbing and troubled villain who never got what he truly wanted in his life, so he builds machines to hunt down supers and starts killing them off one by one. We never got that level of dark with the Screenslaver, even though he is a great villain who can hack into other people's minds. The images of people staring blankly at their screens were disturbing to say the least, but I personally don't think that the Screenslaver will ever be able to get onto the level of Syndrome. Part 3. A Search for Justice. At the start of The Incredibles, we learned that the superheroes were forced into hiding in what became known as the Superhero Relocation Act, which made them undergo new lives living among the general population out of fear of not just prosecution, but persecution. In The Incredibles 2, Winston Dever wants to bring them back into the spotlight. He always had a love for superheroes and was left distraught after they were forced to go into hiding. This is why more supers are being added into the mix. With the possibility of more hope for these people, a whole lot more are going to come out of hiding in hopes of a brighter future. The underlying theme in the most recent release in this series is a quest for justice and equal rights. A group that have been treated horribly for far too long are finally able to say that they are human beings and they should be treated as such. They want to do good for the world simply because it's right, and there are many, including Winston Dever, that are on their side on this matter. This is not just a superhero story, but it's one about people who want to protect society at all costs, no matter what happens. The Incredibles is a great set of films. I've already seen the second one twice in the cinema, and I might even go and see it for a third time because I've just had that much fun watching it. I genuinely love these films, not just as someone who loves dissecting movies, but as someone who grew up on this story and could not wait for the newest release. The Incredibles will always have a very special place in my heart, and it ranks among my all-time favourite movies, and I know I'm not the only person on this planet who would say that. As much as I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there is no superhero movie on the planet that can top The Incredibles in my opinion. There is nothing that can beat the movie that made me so happy when I saw this with my mum in the cinema in 2004 when I was just 7 years old. And words could not describe how happy I was to finally see this a couple weeks ago. Watching The Incredibles 2 for the first time in the cinema helped to bring back some incredible memories as well as create some amazing new ones. Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed this pilot episode of Behind the Lens. I'm hoping to use this as a replacement for Double Review because I'm not really getting anything creatively inspiring out of that anymore, and I really just want to replace it with something that I've always wanted to do, such as dissecting movies more in depth, which is something I'm very much interested in. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and it is a plan of mine to make more of these episodes in the future. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts on the Incredibles series are. And other than that, guys, I've been Tartarus Pictures, and I will see you later. Good night.